Welcome everyone to the EDC for Fun channel. My name is Dennis. Today we're going to look at one of the greatest folding knives of all time. Okay, so we are taking a look at the inside of my Manix 2. Now, not every Manix 2 looks like this on the inside. I'll explain what I mean about that in a minute. But before I do, just want to do a brief kind of survey, a look at the history of the Manix 2. They originally came out as just the Manix in 2004. It was larger. It was a backlock. It went through a series of progressions where the size shrunk down. It had a hollow grind blade at one point. It went from a backlock to the ball cage lock, and then eventually to the lightweight models. And right now, you can still get a variety of the different Manix 2 knives for a reasonable price, which for a company that is manufacturing in America is hard to come by these days. And the quality, the materials, the overall aesthetic, ergonomics, performance, everything that you get with a Manix 2, or most Spydercos really, is just unmatched. By the way, this video is a response to my friend Rich over at True Budget EDC. He just got his first Spyderco Pair 3 lightweight, and at the end of his video review of that knife, he issued a challenge for us to come out and pick an American-made knife and just talk about it. So this is my response to that. So thanks, Rich, for the motivation. And so, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more specifically about this Manix that's in my hand. You can see that the liners are all milled out. That is not common to every Manix. That's something that you see on the Sprint Run versions. For those of you who don't know, the Sprint Runs are the models that come out with different blade steels and handle materials, handle color, not materials, but the colors. They'll change, and they'll be generally exclusive to either a distributor or a retailer. But one of my favorite things about this line is that you can mix and match for the most part. There are some CQI things, they're constant quality improvements that prevent you from doing certain things. But as long as you have a basic understanding of what you're doing and what you have, there's a lot of different things that you can do with these that just make them really, really fun and customizable. So you can do what you did, do like what I did here, and just kind of make it your own. So like I said, I've got these milled out liners. I've also got a titanium ball cage lock. These originally come with a polymer cage, and I swapped this one out for a titanium one. It gives you a little better grip and just kind of fits the aesthetic better for what I was going for here. I also have, speaking of titanium, a MXG Gear deep carry clip on mine, and these just make this knife just a lot more easier in and out of the pocket, and they also give you just a more comfortable feel in hand with the clip, that is more low profile, oops, dropped a washer, than the standard Manix 2. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the Manix 2. Like I said, you can make it however you want it. So they give you a base, a platform that is solid to start with, and from there you can just go. Before I close this back up and look at some of the other aspects of the blade, the last thing I'll talk about that I did on the inside, which is actually kind of hard to see. Let's see if you can see it on camera. No, you can't really see it. There is a ceramic ball inside of this cage. They normally come with a steel ball, and I swapped that out just because I could. Yeah, you can kind of see it. There's a little bit of white poking out there from the zirconium ceramic that's in there. So while I'm doing this, you can actually see what a cool mechanism this is. So there's no detent, but you can see this channel here when the knife is closed. This spring does push the ball cage up into that channel, and so you do get basically a mechanical type of detent. And then when this guy opens, it pushes up into this channel here and gives you a solid lockup, not only there, but also back here on this back spacer that acts as a stop as well. And so just a really cool, innovative design. And you know, it's fairly strong. It's not the strongest lock in the world, but for most EDC tasks, for most people's daily use, it's completely sufficient. And so I'll go ahead and get this guy back on there. Okay, so now with everything back together, we'll just talk about some of the external features that you can find on this guy. You've got 2 T8 screws on either side of that back spacer, and then you've got T10 screws on the pivot. So I really like the larger size body screws on these, and appreciate the simple construction, because that's all it is as far as what's holding you know, the scales and the liners together. You've got basically 6 screws there. You do have these T6 screws that hold the pocket clip to the scale as well. And then of course you've got a lanyard tube back there. There have been some reports over the years of some people, when they do scale swaps, that they'll get a little bit of a rattle in this not backspacer, where this lanyard tube is, because there's nothing holding it together there. I've never had a problem with that. There are some companies that basically make a screw set that you can use in place of a lanyard tube that pulls these together. Like I said, I've never had an issue, but I have heard or read rather, some people had that issue. You can see I've got not the original G10 scales on mine. These are micarta scales that have these scallops milled into them that make for a really great, comfortable and grippy texture. Those came from Blades We Love, and you can get all kinds of different scales for these. You can get titanium scales, you can get carbon fiber scales, you can get scales that allow you to do a liner delete from, I think it's Applied Weapons Tech. There might be another company that does them, but they're made out of aluminum and they replace both the scale as well as the liner. So that's pretty cool. Just tons and tons of options with these. Looking up at the blade now, you can see mine's got a 20 CV blade. The Manix 2 originally came with the S30V, and with all the different sprint runs, you can basically find one in virtually any steel, you know, save for a few here and there, but they've just done tons and tons and tons of different runs of these. And one of my favorite features about Spyderco knives, you can see on the other side of the blade, is you have the maker's mark. There's an E there for Eric Glesser, son of Sal Glesser, the founder of Spyderco. Then you've also got the Golden Colorado USA Earth. Just something that's really cool that they put on all of their USA models, which I really appreciate. I love seeing that on there. Okay, so back to the kind of overall form and function of the knife, and not so much the materials, because like I said, you can change them up. This right here is absolutely one of my favorite knife grips ever for any knife, and the way the handle is designed with this 50-50 choil, as they call it. You've got a ricasso up here with some jimping on this side, some jimping on the scale side, and it splits right down the middle. That's why I call it a 50-50. Then you've got this point out here, so you can either be behind there very securely and still have a good, comfortable position where your thumb lands on the thumb ramp, or you can choke up on it like that, and that's just really where it's at. I don't think I'm alone in that. I think pretty much everybody loves that, or virtually everybody. And then going back on the handle, you've got these extra grooves down here, which some people don't like. They don't like having you know, a dictated index point, which is fine. You can get scales and liners or whatnot that are what they call skinny, where they don't have all the humps and grooves and everything. And so if that's your thing, you can definitely go that direction. But ergonomically, this is by far one of my favorite knives ever. It just melts into my hand, and no matter if I'm cutting wood, if I'm cutting cardboard, if I'm just cutting junk up, or you know, whatever I'm doing with it, it is just supremely comfortable to hold and to use. And especially, like I said, with the different options that you can get and the way I have this one laid out for myself, just makes using this thing just a dream. So you have basically actually we'll go ahead and measure it. You've got a full flat grind leaf-shaped blade, and the cutting edge is basically right at 3 inches. The knife overall is about 8 inches, so it's not a small knife, but it's not super huge. So it's very adept at you know, doing a little bit of everything. It's in a really good size. I like to call the, you know, the 3 to 4 inch range for me is like the Goldilocks zone as far as cutting edge. And then you've got basically 1/8 of an inch blade stock, and that thickness does carry out pretty far to the tip, so you do get, you know, a fairly robust tip on that. I'll go ahead and take a close look at the belt satin finish that Spyderco does. Always very nice. It is prone to scratches, but I don't care about scratches. Stonewash would be cool. I've got other Spydercos that have one in particular has got an acid wash and a stonewash on there, or acid etch, excuse me, and a stonewash, and that looks really cool. But for this one, I don't really care about that. You've got the trademark Spyderco opening hole, and this is one of the things that just forever just set Spyderco apart, and still does. A lot of companies are using opening holes now, different shapes, different sizes, but Spyderco was really the pioneer for that. And you know, they made famous, of course, well, they didn't make famous their customer base using that hole with the Spidey flick. Really just set Spyderco apart as far as not only a usable knife, but a knife that is fun to use. And you know, that's kind of, you know, a newer thing, you know, in EDC knives is the fidgetability, and Spyderco, in my opinion, is the OG, save for, you know, of course, you know, there's always people are going to talk about OTFs and bally songs and that kind of stuff, but as far as, you know, folders go, Spyderco for me is the OG fidget knife. And with that Spidey flick, I mean, that just says it all. It's just so much fun. Some people don't like it, but for me, it's just it's a pleasure to use, whether I'm, you know, slow rolling it, or of course doing the, you know, the reverse flick middle finger, or the thumb flick. You know, it's just a fun knife to actuate. And with that, along with the ball cage lock, you know, the smooth drop without having your fingers in the blade path, is just awesome. So that is my Spyderco Manix 2, one of the greatest folding knives of all time in my estimation, my experience. Your mileage may vary, but you can go and make a video about that, and maybe we'll watch it, maybe you won't. This is my video. And so with that, guys, I want to say thank you for watching. Thanks for spending some time with me. Thanks for you know, just being just being a great community. Really appreciate you all. With that, the only thing I want to say is have a fantastic day. God bless you guys. See ya.